She entered the arena and dropped her weapon. The arena was louder than thunder. 10,000 aliens sat in the steel stands. They laughed, cheered, and shouted insults. Above them, giant screens showed the face of the next fighter, a human girl. She looked small, thin, no armor, no scars, just a dark outfit and calm eyes. "She's a joke," one alien said. "Humans are weak," another laughed. "This will be fast." Inside the waiting tunnel, the girl stood alone. A heavy metal gate blocked her view of the arena. Behind her, a guard pushed a weapon into her hand. "Try to make it interesting," the guard smirked. She said nothing, just walked. The gate opened with a loud screech. Bright lights hit her face. Hot wind blew dust across the cracked ground. It smelled of oil, sweat, and blood. She stepped forward slowly. Above her, crowds screamed louder. Cameras zoomed in. She walked to the center of the arena. Across from her stood 5 alien warriors, each twice her size. Claws, horns, shining armor, champions from 5 deadly species. They were handpicked to make the crowd happy. They were killers, and they were smiling. One stepped forward, dragging a blade taller than the girl. "Your kind should have stayed on. Earth," he growled. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at the weapon in her hand. It was sharp, clean, made for slicing. She held it for a moment, then dropped it. The sound was small, just a clang against stone, but the silence it caused was huge. The arena froze. Then the laughter came. She gave up. She's scared. She'll run. But she didn't run. She stood still. No weapon, no shield, just calm eyes and slow breath. The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. "Begin!" The first alien charged. He was fast, armored, angry. The girl didn't move. Not until he swung. She ducked, spun low. Her foot snapped into his knee with a loud crack. The alien screamed. She grabbed his blade midair, turned it, and slammed the blunt end into his chest. He dropped. The crowd gasped. She was already moving. The second alien rushed from behind. She bent backward, avoiding the strike by inches. Then she rolled forward and kicked upward, straight into his jaw. Teeth flew. The third didn't wait. He roared and charged. She slid under him, jumped to her feet, elbowed him in the throat. He fell choking. 12 seconds had passed. 2 aliens left. They looked at her now with different eyes, not anger, not pride, fear. The fourth raised a blaster. She kicked a metal piece from the ground. It flew into his hand and knocked the weapon away. She reached him in 1 second, a sharp twist. A loud pop. He dropped. Now, only one remained. He took a step back, shaking. The girl didn't speak. She simply stared. He dropped his weapon. The arena was silent. He turned and ran. The screens went dark. The crowd didn't cheer. They couldn't speak. 14 seconds. 5 champions defeated. And the girl? She just stood there. Dust in her hair. Blood on her knuckles. Her weapon still lying where she dropped it. Cameras caught her face as she turned to leave. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't angry. She just looked finished. Like this was only the beginning. The gate opened. She walked out. And the arena was completely empty. Not a single fighter stood. Not a single voice spoke. Only one word remained, whispered across the galaxy. Human. Who was she? And why? Did she smile? The video spread like fire. Every corner of the galaxy, spaceports, control rooms, colonies, was replaying the same 14 seconds. A small human girl, 5 alien champions, no weapons, no mercy, and at the start of it all, she had smiled. It was not a big smile, not loud, not joyful. It was the kind of smile that made soldiers feel cold, as if she already knew how it would end. Alien generals held emergency meetings. "She's trained," one said. "Enhanced, maybe." "No," replied another. "That was no enhancement. That was something else." Others weren't so calm. She's a threat, a weapon, she needs to be erased. But how do you erase something you can't understand? The arena officials tried to pull her record, but they found nothing. No name, no ID, no home planet listed, just a blank file, and a line written in an old Terran language. She fights for what you buried. That same day, deep in a hidden lab, a team of alien scientists watched her footage in slow motion, frame by frame. Every movement was perfect. No wasted steps, no hesitation, no fear. She's not reacting, the head researcher said. She's planning. Every strike is planned 3 seconds ahead. She knew their weak spots. She read their attacks before they started. Who trained her? Like this? Then one intern, a quiet one, pointed at something strange. Look at her eyes, he said. They zoomed in. Her pupils were shrinking and expanding, rapidly. Not fear, calculations. She wasn't just fighting. She was measuring. Like the
arena was a test, like they were not enemies.
But targets. Suddenly a new file appeared on the lab screen. No one knew where it came from. It played a short video. Old, blurry. It showed a small colony, human-built, far from Earth. Then fire, explosions, screams, alien soldiers burning homes. Little girl running through smoke, her face dirty, her hands shaking. But her eyes, the same. Cold, focused, watching everything. That girl had survived. And now, she was back. The lab went silent. Then their screens turned black. A message blinked 3 times. You made this. Back on the arena station, security was ready to escort the human girl back into holding. But when they opened her cell, it was empty. No broken locks, no holes, no sounds. Just one thing left behind. Scratched into the metal wall. Try. Alarms rang. Search ships launched. Patrols scanned every exit point. She was gone. Vanished without a trace. But then, strange things started happening. One by one, those who cheered the loudest at the arena began to disappear. A guard, a council member, a weapons dealer. No one saw her come. No one saw her leave. But at every scene, one thing was found, a small stone, black, smooth, with one symbol carved deep into it, H. For human. Now the galaxy was no longer laughing, it was watching closely, because the girl who had once smiled in the arena was now out there, unseen, and she wasn't finished. They called for her execution, but she vanished. Panic spread like poison. After the arena incident, the Council of Systems gathered in emergency session. She humiliated our strongest warriors. She broke the code of peace. She must be executed. The vote was fast. Unanimous. Terminate the human girl. They sent bounty hunters, trained killers, silent shadows who never failed. They were promised riches, power, glory. They only had to find one girl. She had no army, no ship, no known location. But she had one thing the galaxy didn't understand, a reason. On the first day, a hunter followed, her signal to an abandoned mine. Only his boots were found. On the second day, a team entered a colony where she had been spotted. The entire team disappeared. On the third day, a high-ranking general who ordered her death was found hanging upside down from his own war statue. No blood, no wounds, just a note pinned to his chest. You started it. Still, the council pushed harder. They called for full military scans. Every ship, every station, every satellite. But the more they searched, the more systems began to shut down. Surveillance failed. Patrols went dark. Everywhere she had passed, systems glitched, cameras died, guards forgot. It was like she became part of the shadows. Then came the broadcast. One screen lit up across the galaxy. It showed her, standing on a rooftop. Rain falling, city burning behind her. She looked into the camera, and for the first time, she spoke. I am not hiding. You are. She stepped forward. The screen went black. No signal trace, no location, nothing. But the message was clear. She had full control. Now, not over weapons, not over ships, but over fear. One council leader whispered in his chamber, "She's just one girl." A voice replied from the shadows. She was, not anymore. Because now she had help. Others. Quiet humans from forgotten colonies. Outcasts, survivors. They were rising, and each carried the same mark, an empty hand. The symbol of the girl who dropped her weapon, now seen as something more, not surrender, but warning, not peace, but promise. By the end of the week, the bounty was withdrawn. The council deleted the kill order. They called it a mistake. But the galaxy knew the truth. They didn't cancel the hunt out of mercy. They did it out of fear, because she was no longer being chased. She was chasing them. What happened inside those 14 seconds? The galaxy had watched the arena fight from a distance. It looked fast, brutal, terrifying. But no one saw the full truth. Until now. An anonymous signal leaked something impossible. The black box footage from the arena, raw, uncut, and slowed to 1 frame per millisecond. The file was labeled Seconds, Real-Time Unlocked. Inside command centers, experts stared in silence. The playback began. Second 1. The human girl drops her weapon. Every alien in the crowd starts laughing. But her eyes lock onto each enemy's center of gravity. She's not watching with fear. She's calculating. Second 2. The first alien charges. The girl exhales. Her foot shifts 3 centimeters, enough to trap the incoming leg. Before the attacker even finishes the first swing, she's already behind him. Second 3. She strikes. 4 pressure points in half a second. His knees fold. His chest caves in. He falls before his mind understands. Second, 2 enemies move together. Wrong move. She kicks dust into one's eyes, blinding him, then hurls his own arm into the other's throat. One stumbles, choking. The other slams into the wall, unconscious. Second, 5-7. The 4th attacker is careful. Too careful. She uses his hesitation. She moves past his blade like water, slides under him. A rising elbow cracks his jaw upward into his own helmet. He falls. Motionless. Second, 8 and 12. The last alien is frozen. He drops his weapon, tries to run, but not before the girl walks to the weapon she dropped. She doesn't pick it up, she just looks at it. Then at the crowd. That's when she smiles. Not happy. Not proud. Sad, a smile of truth. A smile that says, "This is what you wanted, now you'll remember it." Second 13. She turns around. All enemies are down. Blood pools in silence. The crowd is mute. Second 14. She walks away. No cheers, no cries, only stillness. The footage ends, across the galaxy. Silence follows. Even hardened warriors feel their skin crawl, because now they understand. She didn't fight with rage. She didn't fight for victory. She fought like someone who knew what pain was. Every move was surgical, every step, a message, and now that message was being read on warships, on black markets and council halls. Even enemy soldiers whispered it to each other. She didn't attack. She responded. The arena was not her battlefield. It was her warning sign. Now the galaxy had seen the truth inside those 14 seconds, and still, no one knew what she was preparing for next. The secret behind her rage somewhere deep in council space, a file unlocked itself. It wasn't hacked. It simply appeared. A forgotten log, time-stamped 14 years ago. Location, Planet 9RX, Human Colony. The footage began with laughter, children playing under a rust-red sky, homes made from scrap metal and stubborn hope, humans surviving on a planet no one else wanted. Then, the sky turned black. Alien ships, no warning, no conversation, just fire. Buildings exploded. Mothers ran with babies. Fathers fought with their hands. Children screamed. A little girl crawled under wreckage, dust choking her breath. She saw soldiers, dragging people away. One alien laughed. "Don't worry," he said. "No one will remember this place." That girl was her. The same eyes, the same silence. She watched her world burn and said nothing, because there were no words for what she felt. Only one thing formed in her heart. Not revenge. Resolve. Years later, that same girl was taken again by another empire, another system, another set of chains. She wasn't a citizen, not a person. She was gladiator stock, sold to the arena, trained, tested, starved, but never broken, because every scream she heard in that cell was the echo of her past. Every opponent she faced was a reminder of what stole her childhood. She never cared for victory. She didn't want trophies. She wanted them to remember, to feel what her people felt. The helplessness, the silence, the fire. One council official dared to ask, why didn't she just escape? A former slave, now free, answered, she didn't want to escape. She wanted them to open the gates so she could walk through. And now they understood. She didn't fight because she was angry. She fought because she remembered. And her memory was sharper than any blade. That's why she dropped her weapon. She didn't need one. Her rage was old, and pure, and alive. The council wanted silence, but got war. The council thought it could bury her story. They shut down broadcasts, wiped footage. From the arena, threatened stations with shutdown if they spoke her name. She is a problem. Problems are erased, said the high speaker, but the problem had already spread. Whispers moved faster than light. In mining colonies, workers passed her image from hand to hand. On outlaw ships, smugglers carved her symbol, the open hand, onto their hulls. On forgotten planets, children played the 14 seconds, acting out her moves in the dust. She had become more than a fighter. She had become a message. And that message was this: we remember what you did. We're not afraid anymore. The council doubled security, deployed drones, locked gates. Still she was seen. In a high tower on a trade moon, a general's office burned with her symbol left in ash. On a slave ship, prisoners were freed. Guards left bound and blindfolded. In a war factory, weapons melted overnight and screens displayed just one sentence: this is your warning. The council tried again. They sent elite enforcers, fast, armed, ruthless. Not one returned. Each time they vanished, another signal appeared. You wanted silence. You got a storm. It wasn't just her anymore. Others were rising. Not soldiers. Not trained. Just people. Humans who had been ignored, beaten, silenced. And now, awakened. They weren't led by orders, they were led by her example. Not rage, not fear, purpose. And as more humans stood up, alien allies started asking hard questions. Why were so many human colonies forgotten? Why were they kept off star maps? Why had no one stopped the arena blood matches? And most importantly, why did one girl have to remind the galaxy what justice looked like? The council panicked. They sent a message to Earth, an apology, a plea for peace. But Earth didn't answer, because Earth wasn't leading this. She was, and her voice was not asking for peace, it was asking for truth, and truth always comes with fire. The girl who dropped her weapon changed everything. They built arenas to break the weak. They filled crowds with cheers and fire. They laughed when she entered. They cheered when she dropped her weapon. But now, the arenas were silent, empty, broken. She didn't just defeat champions. She broke something deeper, the illusion that humans were small, the idea that silence meant surrender. She never raised a flag, never led a speech. But she changed the galaxy, one step at a time. It started with fear, but ended with awakening. Now, across hundreds of systems, humans began rising. Some lit beacons on old ships. Others repaired long-forgotten satellites. They weren't planning war. They were planning reminders, messages left in languages all species could read. We are still here. Even non-human species began to stand beside them. Aliens once loyal to the council now questioned their leaders. What else have you hidden? They asked. What else did she survive that we helped cause? The council tried to spin it. She was a criminal, they said. But deep down, everyone knew. She was a mirror, and the galaxy didn't like what it saw. In a quiet sector far from trade routes, a boy watched the sky from his homeworld. His father told him bedtime stories of the girl from the arena. The boy asked, "Is she still out there?" The father smiled. "No one knows," he said. "She could be anywhere. That's the point." "Was she a hero?" the boy asked. "No," the father said. "She was something stronger. She was a human who refused to kneel. Now her symbol is burned onto walls carved into metal painted across moons. The open hand, the hand that dropped the weapon, not to surrender, but to warn. Because sometimes the strongest thing a warrior can do is remind the world what made them strong in the first place." 14 seconds. One girl. A changed galaxy. She didn't want a crown. She didn't want revenge. She wanted the truth to be remembered. And now, it will be. Forever.